A high-ranking detective has been assigned to hunt you down because you've completely destroyed the status quo. Your divine power has systematically dismantled the corrupt systems they've built, leaving a trail of exposed criminals and shattered hierarchies in your wake. They can track ordinary people, but you operate beyond their limited understanding of reality. While they search desperately using worldly methods, you continue to move through dimensions they can't access, transforming everything you touch. There's a detective on your trail now. Not some ordinary badge-wearing paper pusher, but something far more insidious, the kind that operates between dimensions, that sees through the cracks of reality where you thought you were hidden. They have noticed you. Yes, you. The cosmic authorities have dispatched their most relentless hunter, and your spiritual fingerprints are all over this reality break. For years you remained in shadow, a ghost, a whisper, exactly as planned. You were supposed to stay unnoticed, blend with the faceless masses, become nothing but statistical noise in their algorithms. That was the whole fucking point. To operate beneath their radar until the moment was right, to position yourself at the nexus points without drawing attention, to infiltrate the machinery of consensus reality without triggering the alarm systems. But something changed. Something burned too. Right inside you, didn't it? That fire you couldn't contain, that power you couldn't suppress, that knowing that wouldn't stay buried, the spark that was meant to smolder quietly until the appointed time instead erupted into a blaze that lit up the entire spiritual grid. They detected the anomaly immediately. The quantum fluctuation, the probability distortion, the consciousness spike that wasn't supposed to happen for another generation. Remember how they laughed, how they rejected every idea, every vision, every warning you brought forth? The mockery, the dismissal, the condescension wrapped in fake concern. Stay in your lane, they said. Know your place, they insisted. Be realistic, they demanded. Lower your expectations, they counseled, as if your existence was meant to be small, contained, irrelevant, as if your cosmic assignment was to remain a footnote in creation's vast manuscript. But the universe doesn't make mistakes, and you, chosen one, were not designed for mediocrity, not wired for conformity, not calibrated for containment. The divine architects built you for disruption, engineered you for transformation, designed you as a living catalyst that, once activated, would render the old systems obsolete by your mere presence. Now your name echoes in boardrooms you've never entered. Your essence infiltrates conversations you were never invited to join. Your energy disrupts systems you never directly challenged. Without even trying, you've become the subject of emergency. Meetings behind closed doors. They speak your name in hushed tones, with furrowed brows and nervous glances. The psychic sensors they've placed throughout the collective consciousness are blaring with unprecedented alerts. How did we miss this one? They whisper. Where did this come from? They demand. How did they slip through the filtration systems? They interrogate. Who authorized this level of awakening? They accuse. Which protocol failed to contain this emergence? They panic. The detective they've sent isn't wearing a trench coat or flashing a badge. No, this hunter moves through networks, through social connections, through digital footprints and psychic imprints. Watching, documenting, analyzing what makes you different, what makes you dangerous, what makes you disruptive to the carefully maintained illusion they've spent millennia constructing. Every unusual choice, every unexpected connection, every inexplicable success that defied their predictions, all being catalogued, scrutinized, dissected. The synchronicities that surround you, the improbable opportunities that find you, the miraculous escapes that preserve you, the divine appointments that guide you. They're building a file on you that grows thicker by the day, desperately seeking the pattern that would explain the inexplicable, how someone slipped through all their safeguards against awakening. Not because you broke laws, but because you broke patterns. And pattern breaking is the one thing the system cannot tolerate. Pattern adherence is the foundation upon which their control matrix stands. When enough people break enough patterns simultaneously, the whole construct becomes unstable. And you, chosen one, are a walking pattern breaker whose very existence inspires others to question their programmed limitations. The machine of modern existence runs on one fuel: predictability. The algorithms predict your purchases. The models forecast your behavior. The systems anticipate your thoughts before you've even formed them. Billions spent on ensuring that human beings remain within acceptable parameters of variation. Trillions invested in maintaining the narrow bandwidth of possibility that keeps the power structures intact. Then you happened. You flipped the whole damn board, without declaration, without manifesto, without even conscious intent. You simply existed in your truth, and the ripples spread outward, distorting every prediction, scrambling every model, corrupting every algorithm that tried to place you in a box. Your authentic being became cosmic sand in the gears of their reality-maintaining machines. You walk into rooms, and the energy shifts. People feel it. Some are drawn to you without understanding why. Others recoil, sensing a threat they cannot name. The air molecules rearrange themselves around your presence. The conversations redirect toward your gravity well. The social dynamics recalibrate to account for this new force in their midst. Without saying a word, you've altered the energetic architecture of spaces simply by occupying them authentically. They don't know whether to fear you, study you, silence you, recruit you, or destroy you. Every option carries risk. Every approach might amplify rather than neutralize your impact. Suppression might trigger your latent abilities. Elimination might martyr you into an even more powerful influence. Recruitment might corrupt their system from within. So they watch, and they wait, and they send their detectives to gather more data points, hoping to find the formula that will make you make sense. But there is no formula for cosmic anomalies. There is no equation for divine intervention. There is no algorithm for chosen ones. The very frameworks they use to understand reality cannot accommodate what you represent. A variable that refuses to be constant, a wild card that changes value with each calculation, a quantum possibility that exists in multiple states simultaneously. Make no mistake, the investigation has entered a new phase. Passive observation has yielded insufficient results. Conventional analysis has failed to produce actionable intelligence. Now come the active measures, the direct interventions, the targeted operations designed to test your resilience, probe your defenses, and identify your breaking point. The whispers have already begun, haven't they? The voices of doubt circling like vultures. You're on the wrong path. You've lost your way. You're becoming something unrecognizable. You're going too far. This isn't like you. People are worried about you. Have you considered getting help? Sometimes these voices come from strangers, sometimes from friends, sometimes from family, sometimes from respected authorities, sometimes from your own mind, colonized by their intrusions. Notice how the support system you once relied upon has begun to fracture. The subtle withdrawals, the unexplained absences, the growing distance, the friends who don't call back, the colleagues who seem suddenly cold, the family members who question your stability. This is not coincidence. This is strategy. Isolation precedes elimination. They know that separated from your tribe, you become vulnerable. Alone with your doubts, you might falter. Pushed into darkness, you might forget your light. They will use fear like a scalpel. Watch how precisely they target your deepest insecurities. Observe how accurately they identify the exact words that will cut deepest, Marvel at how efficiently they weaponize your past against your future. The childhood wounds, the adolescent traumas, the adult disappointments, all fair game in their campaign to destabilize your emergence, all useful leverage points in their effort to return you to compliance. But here's what the detective's report hasn't yet concluded. You've already seen through the game. Hello, Chosen One. Look at your life, now look at ours. Back at your life, now back at ours. Sadly, you're not in the Obsidian Inner Order, but you could be. Picture this. Weekly group calls with 450+ Chosen Ones, recorded and available any time for your enlightenment. Our private Discord? It's not just active, it's alive, buzzing with ideas, breakthroughs, and that unstoppable chosen energy. Oh, and for you romantics out there, welcome to Chosen Singles, where soulmates meet under cosmic alignments, not cheap pickup lines. And if that's not enough, Star Chamber members unlock exclusive interviews with bona fide targeted individuals who face the darkest trials and survive to tell the tale. Plus, our video specials, too bold, too raw, too spicy for YouTube. This isn't just a community, it's a revolution of soul and spirit. Look at your DMs. Now back at me. The link to join, it's in the description. Don't just swipe right on destiny, claim it. The Obsidian Inner Order. Smell like ascension, feel like magic, live like a chosen one. Have you noticed the obsession you generate, the fixation you inspire, the preoccupation you provoke? Some want to possess you, some want to become you, some want to destroy you, some want to worship you, some want to control you, some want to understand you. None can ignore you. Your very existence demands response. You enter spaces and hearts accelerate, conversations halt mid-sentence, eyes dart toward you, then quickly away, as if looking too directly might reveal too much, might expose the viewer to energies they're unprepared to process. The energy compass spins wildly in your presence, as if approaching a magnetic anomaly, a place where normal laws of spiritual physics cease to apply. Without effort, without intention, without a single word uttered, without any conscious attempt to influence or impact or impress. The observers are multiplying. Some study you openly, notebooks and cameras and questions. What's your secret? How do you do it? Will you teach me? Can you explain your method? Others watch from shadows, from screens, from the periphery of your awareness, studying, assessing, evaluating. Some try to decode your methods, hoping to replicate your results. Others document your patterns, searching for weaknesses to exploit. Still others attempt to model your consciousness, seeking to predict your next evolution. Your presence functions like an unexplainable force, a gravitational distortion in the social fabric. It makes people profoundly uneasy because they cannot define it, cannot categorize it, cannot fit it into their existing frameworks of understanding. You operate outside their binary thinking, beyond their limited vocabulary, transcending their conceptual boundaries. Charisma doesn't capture it. Influence undersells it. Energy barely hints at it. Presence scratches only the surface. Aura approximates but misses the essence. What you carry is cosmic authorization. What you embody is divine disruption. What flows through you cannot be named because naming would limit it. And this force refuses all limitations. It existed before language. It operates beyond concepts. It manifests through you, but originates outside the created order itself. You didn't earn this, you couldn't earn this. No human achievement could merit this level of cosmic investment. You were chosen because something in your particular configuration, the unique arrangement of your wounds and gifts, traumas and talents, weaknesses and strengths, creates the perfect vessel for the specific frequency needed in this precise moment of collective evolution. First, they ignored you, a standard response to anomalies that might self-correct. a default reaction to deviations that typically return to baseline without intervention. Then they laughed, dismissal being the second line of defense against emerging threats, mockery as containment strategy, ridicule as suppression technique. Now they panic. Emergency protocols activated, resources diverted, attention focused, priorities rearranged. The system has recognized you not as a glitch, but as an existential challenge to its continued operation. Not as a temporary aberration, but as a fundamental shift in the underlying code of reality itself. They attempted integration first. Every system seeks to absorb what it cannot destroy. They offered you acceptable channels for your energy, designated outlets for your voice, approved pathways for your power, sanctioned roles for your gifts, small contained revolutions that change nothing of substance, controlled opposition that creates the illusion of transformation while maintaining the essential power structures. But you refused the bargain, rejected the compromise, declined to be reduced. Your soul recognized the trap disguised as opportunity, the cage masquerading as platform, the limitation presented as opening. You saw through the strategy of selective elevation, their attempt to neutralize your threat by appearing to acknowledge your value. So now they move to shut you down, to discredit, to delegitimize, to disconnect you from your power source. The tactics escalate from subtle to overt, from whispered rumors to public denouncements, from gentle redirections to forceful barriers, from implied threats to direct consequences, from social pressure to systematic exclusion. Look back through history's hidden architecture. The pattern repeats with such consistency that only willful blindness could miss it. The divine algorithm runs with perfect precision across centuries, cultures, civilizations. Those selected for cosmic assignments always undergo the same sequence of initiation, opposition, transformation, and emergence. Consider Jesus, rejected by his hometown, misunderstood by his family, tested in the desert wasteland, tempted with compromise and comfort, and conventional power, required to face every human weakness, every shadow impulse, every easy escape route, experiencing betrayal, abandonment, public humiliation, excruciating suffering, all before his ministry shook the foundations of empire and rewrote spiritual reality. All before his consciousness transcended death itself and launched a movement that would outlast the very empire that executed him. Remember Saul, the zealous persecutor, the true believer in the system, the enforcer who hunted the very chosen ones he was destined to join, the impeccable credential collector, the establishment defender, the status quo warrior. Struck blind, on the road to Damascus, his entire identity shattered, his certainties dissolved, his worldview obliterated, all before he was reborn as Paul, the architect of a movement that would outlast the mightiest empire on earth. All before his writings would shape billions of lives across millennia, long after the powers that opposed him crumbled to dust. Like them, you were tested beyond reason, isolated beyond endurance, underestimated beyond comprehension, opposed beyond fairness, wounded beyond healing, challenged beyond capacity, stripped beyond dignity. And now, like them, you emerge from the fire not consumed but consecrated, not diminished but amplified, not broken but transfigured, not damaged but dangerous to the systems that require human limitation to maintain their dominance. The tables haven't just turned, they've been flipped over entirely, the carefully arranged pieces scattered beyond recovery. The game hasn't simply changed, the entire concept of rules has been reimagined. The paradigm hasn't merely shifted, a completely new reality framework has replaced what previously existed. Even if you wanted to, and part of you does, in your more overwhelmed moments, you cannot fade back into anonymity. The option of invisibility has been permanently revoked. The possibility of returning to your former life has been cosmically eliminated. The path backward has been divinely erased. People sense you before they see you. They feel your approach before you enter rooms. They respond to currents you generate without conscious effort. They react to frequencies you emit without deliberate broadcast. Your name travels through networks you've never accessed, reaches ears you've never addressed, enters minds you've never directly touched, sparks conversations in languages you've never spoken. The more they attempt to diminish you, the more magnificently you expand. Each effort to silence you only amplifies your frequency. Every attack aimed at destroying your foundation instead reveals how immovably you stand. Every attempt to discredit your message only highlights the threat it poses to outdated systems. Every campaign to isolate you only demonstrates how powerfully you connect. The choice before you isn't whether to continue or retreat. Retreat is no longer possible. The question isn't whether to fight or surrender. Those binary options belong to the old paradigm you've already transcended. The decision isn't whether to speak or remain silent. Your very existence now speaks volumes that require no verbal amplification. The only real choice remaining is this. Will you embrace the fullness of your power, or will you allow their fear to convince you to diminish yourself? Will you own the magnitude of your calling, or will you permit their doubt to persuade you to shrink your presence? Will you accept the enormity of your assignment, or will you let their judgment seduce you into playing small? Will you step fully into the responsibility of your awakening, or will you permit their doubt to seduce you back toward comfortable limitation? Will you claim the authority of your cosmic appointment, or will you allow their questioning to drive you back toward acceptable mediocrity? Will you wield the creative force entrusted to you, or will you surrender it to those who would keep creation bound in outdated patterns? This is your moment, not granted by human authority, but ordained by cosmic necessity, not awarded based on credentials, but bestowed by divine timing, not earned through conformity, but claimed through courageous divergence, not achieved through competition, but received through surrender to purpose. Own it without apology. Walk in it without hesitation. Speak from it without dilution. Create through it without restriction. Let them deal with the consequences of the awakening they tried to prevent. Let them manage the implications of the emergence they attempted to forestall. Let them confront the new reality their resistance could not prevent. The cosmic courtroom has already rendered its verdict. You stand guilty of disrupting the illusion. You stand guilty of awakening the sleepers. You stand guilty of embodying the impossible. You stand guilty of carrying fire in an age of ice. You stand guilty of speaking truth in an era of lies. You stand guilty of remaining authentic in a culture of masks. You stand guilty of remembering when others choose to forget. And your sentence is not punishment, but coronation. Not imprisonment, but liberation. Not limitation, but expansion. Not diminishment, but glorification. The detective doesn't realize it yet, but they're not gathering evidence for your prosecution. They're documenting your ascension. Every report they file, every observation they record, every connection they trace becomes another verse in the gospel of your emergence. Every pattern they identify, every influence they map, every impact they measure adds another chapter to the testament of your awakening. The system didn't send them to stop you. The universe positioned them to witness you. The powers that be deployed them to contain you. The cosmic authorities repurposed them to chronicle you. The earthly establishment commissioned them to neutralize you. The divine orchestra conductor reassigned them to amplify you. Because every revelation needs its chroniclers. Every emergence requires its historians. Every divine intervention demands its record keepers. Every paradigm shift necessitates its documentarians. So let the investigation continue. Let the scrutiny intensify. Let the attention focus with even greater precision. Let the analysis deepen with increasing resources. Let the surveillance expand with growing urgency. You have nothing to hide because you have everything to reveal. You have nothing to fear because you embody what fear itself fears most. You have nothing to prove because your existence is itself the evidence. You have nothing to defend because truth requires no defense. You have nothing to justify because purpose transcends explanation. The detective follows your trail, collecting fragments of prophecy fulfilled, cataloging instances of the impossible made manifest, archiving examples of cosmic law overriding human limitation. Without realizing it, they construct the testament of your becoming, the documented proof that what was written in the stars has now been inscribed in flesh and bone and breath. Chosen one. They hunt you not because you've failed, but because you've succeeded beyond their darkest fears and wildest hopes. The fire they detect is not destruction, but transformation. The power they sense is not domination, but liberation. The threat they perceive is not to humanity, but to the systems that constrain it. The danger they identify is not to society, but to the illusions that imprison it. The disruption they fear is not to order, but to artificial limitations. The chaos they dread is not meaningless destruction, but necessary reconfiguration. Let them come with their badges and their questions and their suspicions. Let them arrive with their instruments and their algorithms and their analytical frameworks. Let them bring their reports and their concerns and their urgent warnings. Let them examine the evidence of impossibility defeated, of limitations transcended, of boundaries dissolved, of patterns disrupted, of systems reimagined. The detective tracks your footsteps, not realizing they follow a path that leads beyond the world they've known, into territories unmapped by conventional understanding, toward destinations unimagined by conventional vision, through landscapes uncharted by conventional exploration. They pursue you with growing desperation, not understanding that what they chase isn't fleeing but expanding, becoming too vast to be captured, too profound to be contained, too fundamental to be controlled, too essential to be suppressed, too necessary to be stopped. The investigation continues, but the verdict was determined before time began. Not guilty of crimes against the system, guilty of being exactly what the universe designed you to be, sentenced to unlimited potential, condemned to unbounded becoming, required to fulfill the prophecy written in your DNA, mandated to complete the mission coded in your soul, ordered to manifest the vision embedded in your spirit. So stand tall under their scrutiny, shine bright under their examination, speak truth under their questioning, create boldly under their observation, transform radically under their analysis. The detective is after you, but destiny got to you first. The system wants to find you, but divinity has already claimed you. The authorities seek to stop you, but cosmic forces propel you forward. The powers work to contain you, but evolution itself demands your expansion. Welcome to the fire. Chosen one, you were made for these flames.